This is my mother, Annie Hansel, with her new child, a third, following Betty and Eileen. This, it appears, is me when I was a newborn baby. I was told that I was a very good child, quite placid, never cried very much. Everything went very smoothly. In this picture, Nurse Walker is present. She was the nurse for each of the children, and Eileen and I think Betty are in it, and I'm in it. This is another group taken at the same time, with Nurse Walker, and Eileen is standing, and Betty is being nursed, as far as I can see.
And how long was Nurse Walker with the family?
Yeah. Nurse Walker was with the family about 8 years, 9 years, certainly for the first 4 children. I'm not certain whether she was still alive when Ellen was born. This first picture is of Charles Edward Mark Hansel, the first one taken, I think, subsequently referred to as Mark Hansel, because for some reason all the children were given 3 names and spoken to, and the third name was used. Right, this is a year later, and you'll notice I've grown quite a bit.
Were you a good child?
I'm told that I was a very good child.
Didn't you shout and scream?
No, nothing like that. This is a close-up of the previous slide, showing the rapid rate of growth of myself.
Can you see that you look almost identical to as you do now? Hardly changed at all.
Well, I wouldn't say that. This is a picture of Eileen and Betty. Betty, I remember, used to box, had some vicious fights with Trevor, when we had some boxing gloves. This is a family group in which Betty and Eileen are present, myself, and somebody else. Who's the other one?
Trevor.
Oh, and Trevor, yes. Right, this is Trevor and myself at Bourne Bridge. That was thought of as a Roman bridge with little curves in and out to let the chariots go by. This is my first bicycle. This is a close-up in which Trevor showed up better than in the other one. I was a bit proud of my bike, and I think he wished he'd got one.
How old was Trevor there?
He was 2 years younger than me.
So he'd be, what, about 5? Did you used to play with him a lot?
Well, a bit. Yeah, I can't remember how much.
More than with the girls?
No. Oh, yes. This is a photograph taken when I was in the incubator for Bedford school. We wore these odd collars, Eton collars, for some obscure reason. Otherwise, just trying to look smart. This is Eileen, Betty, and Trevor and myself riding on donkeys whilst on holiday in Great Yarmouth. This is a close-up as the donkey picture previously, and it seems I've got some odd sort of hat on. I'm not quite certain what. I remember at this time I went for a walk into Yarmouth, and so they probably were looking for me. And
Did they find you?
Yeah, I got back eventually. This is Ellen as a schoolboy.
Uncle Trevor described him as an urchin.
This is a picture in which Eileen's friend Very Divine is present. Otherwise, nothing much in it. There's a radio in the background, so it must have been a very early one. And my father was a very keen amateur maker of radio sets. In fact, he got me to make one when I was about 7, a crystal set, which did work.
You got me to make one when I was about 7, which never worked. Right. But
this is another group taken at school. It looks like the first game. Seated in the centre is Rex Alston, who later became the commentator of the BBC for rugby and cricket. This shows Trevor in a canoe with his friend Philip Hislop, taken at Bromham, probably.
A fine photograph taken by my father.
This is a house team in about 1934. Houses played, there were 6 houses and each played each other. For
Which was your house?
Ashburnham. And that's what it was.
Anybody famous in this picture?
I don't think so.
And the Daddy Dunn?
That's years ago he played. He was happy under.
Who did he play for?
Ireland.
At what sports?
Soccer and rugby.
Pretty impressive.
He was international at both, yes. That's so I understood him. This is Eileen, taken in 1935.
She worked in the Ministry of Food in Bedford, and a lot of American soldiers had been billeted in Bedford, and it was thought that some of them had TB, and somebody in Eileen's office had it, and it could have been the cause of her subsequent dying from TB.
This was taken at after Betty's wedding. The Cyril Fitt is in it, and he was a friend mostly of Trevor, and David Walker. David Walker was the first person I knew really, though we were together at the age of 4 in the TCS school in Bedford, and I last saw him about 3 or 4 years ago. He lives down in Kent, I think it is, and he's still alive as far as I know. This is a group taken when I was first in the upper school at Bedford, I suppose, seated there next to the master in charge. One side is Philip Cook, who was a very great sportsman, and the other side was Lumley, who was related to Joanna Lumley. I think she must have been his aunt or something, great mother.
Was this a house team?
I don't know what this was.
Not a school team?
It wasn't a house team, no, it was just a team. There were plenty of. This shows a family group on the Ouse.
Did you often go out on the river?
No. This is our dog, Skipper. Was there throughout the door. Had been Bromham Road, and the photograph is taken at Bromham. This is a place where I painted my only painting at that time, by the river of Skip.
With no legs?
He's got legs.
Was he a good dog?
This shows the effects of a boxing match in which I was opposed by a chap called Eakin, and the damage to the nose was finished up by Neil Panton in the afternoon.
One afternoon we met Neil Panton when Janet was at Southampton.
Yes, a few years later.
He came to have drinks with us about 30 years after the event, and there he turned up with an equally broken nose.
Well, I won't say it was equally broken. This is a photograph of Derek Walker, who I was at school with, and we were both 4 at Bedford in the TCS school.
He is Daddy's and Mark's oldest friend. He was an only child, and his mother used to take Mark along as company for Derek and take them to France and Brittany, all sorts of places.
This is, again, Trevor and Alan, together with most of the Hislop family.
And the Hislops lived in Bedford, did they?
Yes, the Hislops lived not far from us in Bedford. This shows Trevor having a race with Philip Hislop.
Was he very competitive?
Yes. This is Eileen, taken sometime around 1938. This is me sitting outside some beach hut somewhere, a lot where it could have been. This is Sister Betty with her first child, Trevor Reynolds. This is, again, is Trevor. Yep.
Did he have lots of girlfriends?
Yes, he had, I remember. This shows Trevor when he was aged about 17.
There was financial pressure because their father had invested money in a madcap scheme in the Cocos Islands. They sold the house and the 2 boys had to leave school and go to work.
This, I'm told, was taken at Lupe I went to do Chromics Research Laboratory after I left school. I had become interested after taking some colour photographs in Dupay, and I'd taken out a patent on processes which I thought would improve the quality of the picture. This was a girl I knew just before going overseas, called Elizabeth Loader. I can't remember much about her except that she was a keen follower of Rudolf Steiner.
Of what?
Rudolf Steiner.
Who he?
She was an anthroposophist, as they say. Well, he was a sort of German quack philosopher. This is a further picture of Elizabeth Loader. She taught art in a Rudolf Steiner school, not far from here, but it was near Gloucester. That's what I remember.
And how long did you go out there for? How long did you go out there for?
Well, I was there 3 months, and I went overseas, and she, I didn't see her again until 4 years later. And she died not long after that.